I don't have a problem with Jesus being black, and I'm a Christian, but I do have a problem with Hebrew Israelites teaching Jesus is black by corrupting the Bible. In this video, you will see a leader in one of their camps try 3 times to show Jesus or other Israelites are black. He tried all 3 times from the Bible. You will see him fail every time. It's amazing how anyone teaching like this is leading, because it isn't because of teaching skills. It's their secret weapon I talked about in another Hebrew Israelite video, but more on that later. And bear in mind, these passages get brought up and are not asked about. This implies they think these are solid passages proving Jesus' colour. Attempt number 1. Bishop Nathanyel goes to a favourite verse on proving the colour of Jesus. He goes to Revelation chapter 1. Listen to what he says.
Verse 15. And his feet like unto fine brass.
This is brass. This is brass right here. Go ahead.
As if they burn in a furnace.
If you burn this, what color would this get?
Isn't it bronze?
What color would it get if I took a match and went...
Black.
Black, exactly. It's telling you Christ, not only did he have wool hair, he was black. It's telling you a description of him.
Is that the book of Revelation?
Revelation.
You mean no church on earth ever read that?
Here, they are speaking about Revelation chapter 1, verse 15. The bishop says, brass is a brown colour, which is true. And if you burnt the brown table, it would go black. This is also true. But here's the problem. He's not consistent. It's not because Christians have never read this. The problem is, seeking truth means we must not corrupt scripture to prove our point. And this is what anyone who believes this verse means Jesus is black is doing. Let me show you how he did this. Let's now go back a few seconds before he says this. Listen to what he says about verse 14.
We're going to jump to verse 14. His head and his hair were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire.
So white hair, white wool hair. You know what wool is?
Yeah.
What is it?
Is it that's long? Hey, is it that's...
No, wool hair is Afro hair.
Oh, our hair. The one that we usually, the Rasta hair.
Rasta hair, and it's your hair in its natural state is Afro hair.
Okay.
This is Afro hair. He has Afro hair. Everyone here has Afro hair. It's a thick, coarse, textured hair, like a sheep has.
Yes.
It's thick.
Yeah.
Not straight, not thin. So Christ had Afro hair.
Notice the verse says Jesus' head and hair are white like wool. The bishop did not mention the verse saying Jesus' head was white. He spent a minute talking about the hair white like wool, but he never mentioned Revelation said his head was white too. Touch your head. If verse 15 proves Jesus is black because his feet are brown, verse 14 proves Jesus is white because his head is white. Again, I don't have a problem if you believe Jesus is black, but I would never use Revelation 1 to prove this. All I would be proving was I don't know how to read the Bible. Attempt number 2, Bishop Nathanyel goes to another passage. He goes to Job chapter 30. Listen to what he says.
Job 30 verse 30. My skin is black upon me.
See that? My skin is black. One day a preacher told me that don't mean skin. I know English.
To twist it.
Yeah, they try to twist it, and that's what they do in the church. They said it doesn't really mean that. It means his emotion. But skin, I know what skin means. Don't play games with me. This is what they do. They hoping people are so stupid, we just fall for it.
Right before this, he was saying people say color is not all over the Bible. Serious Bible students wouldn't say this, but that is not the argument. He moved to something else. Then he says, someone said this wasn't talking about skin. I have no problem if it refers to skin, but this does not mean Job is literally saying his skin is black, because the bishop here leaves off the rest of the verse and the context of Job here. But before I touch the wider context, notice the rest of the verse. Job ends the verse saying his bones burned with heat. Job is not saying his bones got cooked. This is why context is important. The context shows Job is talking about trouble he's facing. Let me show you. 4 verses before in 26 he says, he looked for good, but evil came. He waited for light, but darkness came. In verse 27, he says, his bowels, his insides, they boiled. He doesn't mean they got cooked. This means he has no rest. He's being troubled right now. Verse 28 is about mourning. He was sad. The sun wasn't there, and how he was crying. He cried. He calls dragons and owls his brothers and friends. Job is not calling beasts his brothers or friends. Job is speaking poetically. You don't have to have an agenda against black people. All you have to do is be consistent with the text. The irony is, the context shows that Job is looking for one thing, but getting the opposite. This means if he's saying his skin is black, it would actually suggest he was not black, but now his skin is black. You must read the Bible in context to find truth. That means what it says around it, what type of book you are reading, and not just look for things you think prove an argument. But let's say Job is black. How does this prove Jesus is black? Again, I don't have a problem if you believe Jesus was black, but I would never use Job 30 to prove this. All I would be proving was I don't know how to read the Bible. Attempt number 3, Bishop Nathanyel goes to another passage. He goes to Song of Solomon, chapter 1. Listen to what he says. This is important.
Song of Solomon, King Solomon. I am black, but commonly, O ye daughter of Jerusalem.
So King Solomon was the king of Israel. He said, I am black and comely. Comely means good looking, handsome.
Yep.
So he said, I am black. Them people in Israel are not today, those are not the people of this book.
This might be the worst one. When watching this, it reminds me this is spiritual warfare. He's confident, but is so deceived, and he is deceiving thousands of people. Let me show you 2 big problems with this. This is not King Solomon speaking, and this is more likely talking about suntan, not skin tone. A woman is speaking throughout from verse 2 to 7 in chapter 1. Not a man and not King Solomon. If it was a man, we have big problems. Let me show you. Verse 2 says, let him kiss me with his mouth. It also says his love is better than wine. Solomon was not asking another man to kiss him. The speaker continues in verse 3 by saying, the virgins love you. Solomon was not saying all these unmarried men love him. The speaker continues in verse 4 by saying, they went into the king's chamber. Solomon was not brought into a bedroom by another king. The verse also says the love from this king was more memorable than wine. King Solomon was not thinking about another king's love more than wine. And the speaker continues in verse 5 by saying, I am black but comely, black but beautiful or lovely. Black and beautiful like the tents in Kedar, and black and beautiful like King Solomon's curtains. Solomon was not saying he is black and beautiful like his own curtains. And the same speaker continues in verse 6 saying, she is black because the sun has looked upon her. This is all the same woman speaking, not King Solomon. One thing Bishop Nathanyel said I agree with is this.
We are living in a demonic age. That the only thing that can break the spell off of us is this book, correctly taught. That's the only thing.
3 times the bishop tried, 3 times he failed. And the only thing keeping people in groups like this is their secret weapon.